Additionally, evaluations of the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations specifically look for effective safety culture. The expansion of nuclear energy in the United States continues deliberately. Our opinion on near-term development of advanced nuclear plants has not changed in the past year. We expect to have 4 to 8 new reactors online in the 2016 to 2020 timeframe. Progress on some license applications has slowed in the past couple of years, given the recession and the drop in natural gas prices. The events in Japan have added uncertainty as well, but we do not expect the accident in Fukushima to have a major impact on new nuclear plant licensing. The need for low-carbon electricity from nuclear energy is as compelling as ever. New power plants will be needed to replace those that are retired. Various analysts predict that 10 to 20% of our existing coal-fired generating capacity will close by 2020, and other types of power plants may close as well. We also need to build generating capacity to meet new demand for electricity. The Energy Information Administration assumes only 1% annual growth in electricity demand in its latest forecast, which is well below historical levels. But even that estimate would equate to the need for 220 gigawatts of new electric capacity by 2035, equivalent to 220 1,000 megawatt new plants. There are 12 applications for combined construction and operating licenses under active review at the NRC, plus 2 applications for early site permits. The NRC is scheduled to rule on the license application for Georgia Power's Vogtle site at the end of this year, and on Scanner's license for 2 reactors at the Summer site late this year or early in 2012. In addition, the AP 1000 design certification should be completed in the August-September timeframe to support the licensing of both the Southern and Scanner reactors. Like all actions in our industry, plant development is careful and deliberate. Companies will ensure that market conditions are right before moving forward with decisions to build. Although long-term fundamentals still represent a solid business case for new nuclear power plant development, the near-term fundamentals are certainly more challenging. For some companies, the pace of new plant construction depends directly on availability of financial support. That can come either from the federal government through the Loan Guarantee Program created by the 2005 Energy Policy Act, or from state governments in the form of supportive regulation. Both the administration and Congress recognize the importance of nuclear energy and the challenge in financing new projects. President Obama requested an additional $36 billion in loan guarantees for new nuclear plants in his budget request for fiscal year 2012. The Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources is considering legislation to establish a Clean Energy Deployment Administration to support financing for clean energy technologies, including nuclear plants. In the current economic climate, both proposals face a steep uphill climb. Nonetheless, they are critical pieces of an energy policy that America needs if we are to meet future electricity demand using cleaner technologies. There also is considerable interest, both domestically and internationally, in small reactor designs which have a capacity of 300 megawatts or less. Small reactors can play an important role in the market, putting electricity generated by nuclear energy within the reach of smaller companies and providing an alternative for replacing coal-fired plants. Building these plants will add manufacturing jobs here in the United States and can certainly add to our exports in the energy sector. The United States has also become the world's leader in developing uranium enrichment projects. Urenco is operating and expanding an enrichment facility in New Mexico. USEC is planning development for one in Ohio. And the NRC is reviewing license applications for 2 new enrichment facilities, Arev's Eagle Rock facility in Idaho and GE's Hitachi facility in North Carolina. We're also seeing growth in domestic uranium production. The NRC has recently approved operations at 3 in-situ uranium recovery sites in Wyoming. It is important, as Gary said, that these licensing activities continue. We must systematically learn the lessons from Fukushima. However, new plant development must continue in this country, taking into account both the shorter and longer-term lessons as they apply to the industry. We certainly must and will continue to learn from Japan, but we have a responsibility to keep moving forward and safely deliver reliable electricity to meet America's growing demand. I now want to turn to the question that I'm sure everyone in the room has been pondering in recent weeks. What insights can we draw at this point from the events in Japan? This issue will be a theme that is incorporated throughout our program in the next 2 days. I encourage all of you to be here tomorrow to listen to Jim Ellis, President and CEO of IMPO, as he discusses his views, as well as to the senior government officials who will speak tomorrow, Dan Poneman, the Deputy Secretary of Energy, and NRC Chairman Greg Yatsko. I also know that we'll benefit from the insights that Lorenz Stricker, Chairman of the Governing Board of the World Association of Nuclear Operators, will share with us later today. I'd like to share with you my initial thoughts. Let me start by saying the first thing we needed to do and are doing is to make sure that the significant improvements we've put in place to successfully respond to severe accidents at our sites will work as planned. These include everything from capabilities for coping with the loss of all power, to the efficacy of guidelines for managing severe events, and the equipment, procedures, and training that we put in place at the site since the 9/11 terrorist attacks. This effort is already well along as part of the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations event report and is being closely monitored by an independent NRC review team. The vast majority of the items identified in the industry's initial 30-day review can be enhancements to existing programs or procedures. They include requiring clarification of workers' responsibilities and improving training opportunities, enhancing and diversifying storage and placement of equipment, enhancing the capability for multi-reactor sites to respond to events simultaneously at all of the site's reactors, and improved coordination of first responders and vendors. In addition, however, some plants are not in full compliance with measures implemented after 9/11 to respond to large fires and explosions that could result from aircraft impacts on a nuclear energy facility. These findings already have been entered into the corrective action programs to be resolved by those companies. As is our nature and practice, we will incorporate these lessons learned across the industry as the first step in a short-term and long-term review of enhancements that may be made at our facilities in the aftermath of the events in Japan. Also, clearly, the experience in Japan requires us to look again at multi-reactor sites and determine that we have the plans and capability to provide cooling water to all the reactors and spent fuel pools to ensure protection of the workers at the site and the public around the site. Obviously, we are committed to systematically review and absorb the evolving lessons learned from Japan and incorporate them appropriately in our activities across the industry. And where appropriate, the NRC will incorporate them into the regulatory requirements. Also, it is essential for both nuclear safety and public confidence that we have credible, effective regulators in every country that has commercial nuclear power plants. In my opinion, the NRC provides a global model for strong nuclear energy regulation that other countries should look at. From a safety perspective, one of the great strengths of the U.S. nuclear energy program is the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations, which promotes excellence throughout our industry. IMPO conducts intrusive evaluations at every plant every 2 years, efficiently and systematically shares operating experience, and conducts multiple programs focused on safe operation. Nuclear safety would be enhanced worldwide if WANO could provide the types of programs that IMPO provides. We have all been impressed with the commitment of the workers at the Fukushima site, and we know that the workers at our sites are as committed to safe operation as workers anywhere in the world. As evidenced by the dynamic North American Young Generation in Nuclear meeting that took place over the last 2 days, we are seeing a wonderful infusion of young women and men into our industry. We need to be sure that our knowledge transfer programs are as effective and complete as possible, emphasizing the basic concepts of continuous learning and safety as priority one. Also, as we look at the lessons learned, we need to be sure that we are doing the right thing and that we're doing it in the right way. We need to be sure that management attention and resources, as well as budgets, are focused on activities that have the greatest value to safety. Finally, we know that we must be transparent and credible in our communications with our key audiences, whether they are government leaders, customers, or neighbors near our facilities. We must build a bank of trust and continually make deposits into that account for times such as this. At the same time, we know that the public seeks more information from the industry at difficult times. We must be open and communicate to all of our key audiences. It is more important than ever that we find better ways to communicate and demonstrate our commitment to safety. A recent survey showed that only a slight majority of the public believe that nuclear plants are safe, and support for building new nuclear plants has declined significantly. While safety is job number one for the industry, enhancing our outreach to policymakers and the public may be a necessary second. Our industry is committed to continuous learning. We are fortunate that we closely examined our emergency response programs through the lens of the BP Gulf oil spill last year. At NEI, at IMPO, and at EPRI, we all made significant adjustments to our programs and exercised our response plans so that we were more prepared to respond to the Fukushima accident. We had a commitment to open and frequent public communications from the outset, using the web and social media tools more than ever, and scheduled frequent briefings during the first weeks with our key audiences here in Washington. Importantly, we will further improve our emergency response planning based on lessons learned from the events in Japan and what we did here. Many of the companies represented in the room today reacted swiftly to the Fukushima accident by meeting with key stakeholders and opening your facilities for policymakers and the media. We know from experience that opening our facilities to those beyond the industry is one of the most important communications tools we have. We must continue dedicated communications and outreach programs and make strengthening the public's trust a very high priority. This is critical not just for today, for this month, or even this year. It's critical for the long term. We believe the American nuclear power plants are well prepared and could withstand significant natural forces here in this country. We'll be even better prepared as we address the lessons learned from Japan. But today, the public wants to know that our industry approach to safety and preparedness embraces a simple concept. Expect the unexpected and plan for it with multi-layered safety features. We are going to be held accountable for learning the lessons from Fukushima and for applying them here accordingly. I know that we can meet that standard. Thank you.